I'm continuing to monitor the possibility of a substantial weather event for the European continent later this month. As specific details continue to remain cloudy, models are in pretty good agreement about some kind of powerful storm followed by frigid air around December 20th and beyond. Today's forecast will analyze what we know so far about that incoming storm, as well as the latest on what's going on across the United States. Without further delay, please enjoy Chapter 1. Now, to begin this video, I wanted to do a verification of my previous forecast, and in that video, I predicted a change in the weather pattern for Europe, bringing heavy precipitation across Iceland into the Nordic countries, while much of Central and Southern Europe is under high pressure. As you can see, we have seen that change occur, with a large high pressure area in place while an atmospheric river is impacting parts of the Nordic countries, especially into Norway. The atmospheric river has prompted orange warnings in parts of Norway, especially in the southern areas, due to very intense precipitation, and the same goes for Scotland. You can see here that the rainfall for Scotland will begin on Saturday, becoming increasingly heavy and continuing into Sunday before ending by Monday. The total precipitation by Monday will be heaviest in the black shades, and you can see that centered over Scotland and western Norway, which is why we do have those orange warnings in effect. Now let's take a look at that big storm system I'm expecting later in the month. The time frame we're going to be focusing on will be December 19th and beyond. Like I just mentioned, we're going to see that high pressure area remain firmly established across Central and Southern Europe, but you're going to start noticing a change on the 19th with the new system impacting Norway. This will be accompanied by strong wind and heavy precipitation. This will mean snowfall for the mountains, and of course, a wave of cold air following behind it. The first wave of cold air will probably stay confined mainly to northern Europe, with central and southern areas still remaining under the influence of a high pressure area. Then on the 20th into the 21st, we see a much larger system approaching. This is the storm that we really need to keep an eye on since it could really pack a punch. The low pressure area will probably make landfall on the Norwegian coastline on the 21st before moving inland quite quickly, spreading heavy snow and rain, as well as bringing some really intense winds to some areas. Since that high pressure area is still going to be remaining in place, it basically causes that storm to move due east, so southern areas will get missed by that first part of the system. Then by the 23rd and 24th, I think we may finally see the high pressure area get pushed towards the west, and this will allow for that cold air to drop southward, being accompanied by snow in some areas. This wave of cold could continue further south by the 25th and the 26th, before this particular weather model suggests a new storm developing around the Black Sea. Obviously, that's really far out, so we don't want to look at this stage of the storm just yet. For now, this is my storm hazard area for December 20th into the 30th, and as you can see, this storm will probably impact the majority of Europe in some way, whether it's in the form of wind, snow, rain, or cold temperatures, except for places like the Iberian Peninsula or very far northern areas of Norway, Sweden, and Finland. But other than that, areas in the red should really be watching this storm. With that said, let's move on to Chapter 2. We actually have a new storm forming over the US right now, and this system has three moving parts to keep an eye on: the moisture over the Central Plains, the system over the Gulf, and a piece of energy over the Midwest. Over the next day or so, the energy in the Central Plains will combine with the weak system over the Midwest as the Gulf storm emerges. On the 16th and 17th, the Gulf storm will bring widespread torrential rain and possibly tornadoes, especially across Florida. On the 18th, the storm will probably be located around the mid-Atlantic before moving into the northeast. One of the main hazards this storm will bring will be heavy rainfall, and you can see that clearly on the 5-day precipitation forecast. Areas in the purple could see between 1 to 3 inches of rain, with as much as 3 to 5 inches in the red. Isolated higher amounts will be possible, especially in areas that are repeatedly impacted by thunderstorms. There will also be a 3-day period to watch for with an increased flood potential, and that starts tomorrow across Florida. If you live in the yellow area, you're under a slight risk of excessive rainfall for Saturday. On Sunday, the primary flood threat shifts into the Carolinas and Mid-Atlantic, so major cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, Washington, D.C., and other areas will be at risk. Then on Monday, the flood risk will finish up over New England, more specifically over New Hampshire and Maine. We will also have a couple rounds of severe weather to watch for. The more substantial one will be tomorrow on Saturday, and this will be over Florida with a slight risk already in place for the central Florida peninsula. Main hazards will be a few tornadoes and damaging wind gusts. Then on Sunday, the threat shifts into the eastern Carolinas down into eastern Georgia and Florida. The threat is currently lower, but even still, damaging wind gusts and isolated tornadoes will remain a possibility. Then for my personal wind forecast, if you're in the yellow shade, you may experience some gusty winds as the storm moves through. The orange shade can expect some of the strongest wind, and that will be maximized along mountainous terrain and coastlines. Power outages will be possible, if not likely, in some locations, especially in areas that have saturated soil conditions, which can make it easier for trees and power lines to fall. That will conclude today's weather forecast. Make sure you do stay tuned for further information on this storm, especially in the form of live streams, as well as that large and possibly high impact storm developing for Europe later this month. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more information.